I've been starting off the interviews with showing the people this. And I've been asking, what do you think it is? You know, some people, they don't know. Some people can figure it out, you know. But anyways, the idea is can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, the idea is if you take a seashell and put it to your ear, you're supposed to hear the ocean, you know, like, and if you put this transistor radio to your ear, you'll hear off the grid Native Americana. And today you are coming in, and I don't know, somewhere near Fond du Lac. I know Fond du Lac is one of the songs, and I've been everywhere. One of the towns, and I've been everywhere. And so today we have a good friend of ours here, and we'll let you introduce yourself to the listeners today, Lyz.
Okay. Bonjour, nendo e magani duk netana gamako in indigena cause gizi nendo de. Nagati wano nendo jaba mino indanoki gabe geek and that's we gumigong. English name is Lyz Jaakola, and I'm from Fond du Lac. And I'm Eagle Clan, and I'm in my basement.
I'm glad you came on today. How's this? What were you doing when everything shut down, and how has the COVID affected you personally as an artist?
So I was in Houston singing one of Brett Michael David's pieces with the Houston Opera, which was like this weird thing that out of nowhere happened. And I knew that there's gonna be some strange stuff happening in the big picture if I was getting an offer to sing for Houston Grand Opera, because that shit. And so I went down there and I sang, and they shut down the rodeo that, you know, we didn't even get to sing our gig. It was supposed to be at the rodeo. And so I came home and immediately kind of self-isolated once I realized, like, oh yeah, I travel to international airports, and who knows who I, you know, brushed elbows with or whatever. And so my family, we went into self-isolation. My parents are in their 80s and they live right next door, and we help, you know, take care of them, even though they're doing pretty good. You know, they're very fairly healthy. But I didn't want to endanger them, because they, you know, they're in and out of the hospital with breathing stuff, and, you know, so I didn't want to endanger them. So I said, kids, we are hunkering down and we're just going to sit this out, which, you know, at first was kind of fun. But then when I started to get all the cancellations for all the gigs and all the teaching gigs, they were being canceled, and, you know, so I'm like, man. And then we were supposed to, Oshki Gijik was supposed to go sing over in Norway at Ridu Ridu, that International Indigenous Music Festival. We were like super excited about it. Well, of course that got canceled. You know, we were gonna tour, my family band, we were gonna tour Finland, that got canceled. You know, like there's so many things that could have happened that are not going to happen. And so, you know, that's a bummer. But when I weigh it against keeping my family safe and keeping our community safe, because, you know, our Indigenous communities are at risk, at a higher risk than other people. That's just, you know, a fact. And so, yeah, I don't need to be running around the country or internationally if I'm going to be bringing home some, you know, virus that's going to hurt people. So yeah, we're doing okay.
It's kind of a response to the situation we're in. It allows me to come into people where they're at and talk about music. And I believe we're at the crossroads of Minnehaha and Hiawatha, you know, what I call Native Americana. It's an audio cafe, and you have so much to say about music. Could you talk a little bit about this concept?
It's exciting. That's an exciting concept. I'm now wishing I had a better microphone for you. Well, the idea about, you know, traveling around and talking to different Native folks and doing a kind of a, I don't know. I remember we used to get those books in music class, and they had a certain title to them, like an anthology. Yeah, that's what it was. Do like a Native music anthology, digital format. That's exciting. Yeah, I you know, there's so many places that Native music reaches into, and that Native music is the roots of, you know, that that could be a large net to cast. And in reaching into various different genres and styles, and you could do that. That could be a long project. It's a good project.
Lyz, I feel like well, it's important to let the artist weave this tapestry. Let the artist define what the genre is, and kind of have an umbrella thing and very metaphysical, and letting people interpret their meaning, intuition, and their songs into what it could be. And I think it casts the whole umbrella over anything a native artist wants to sing or dance or share or paint. There's really no, it's wide open. And, with that definition, maybe talk about some of the musical genres that you play and you know.
I I just like to sing, like growing up. My sister had a different dad than me, and that family, is part of my family. Like we all used to gather together for all of the whatever doings, and so there was always music, and they played mostly like country western, because back in the 50s and 60s, all the Indians listened to Hank Williams and all that old country, Patsy Cline and Kitty Wells, um, and my sister's dad's family, they were a bunch of Finlanders, but they grew up in the middle of the reservation here. And same thing as my dad. My dad's Finnish American, and he was born and raised in the middle of Fond du Lac. But so like there was, I guess I didn't realize at the time, Hank Williams has Native heritage, Kitty Wells is Native, like we were listening to Indian music then, like I just kind of assumed that was like the Finlander music, right? Because that's who brought it to our house, were this group of Finns, And so I just sang, and I sang with them. I enjoyed that. I found that when we were singing, it was peaceful, like the parties at our house were not always peaceful, but when the family was singing, it was peaceful, and people were having a good time, and that's where I wanted to be. And so I would sing with them, and then eventually I started, being interested in other kinds of singing. I spent a lot of time in front of the TV when I was a kid. My folks both worked, and so I watched a lot of PBS. And on that station, we had opera coming in, we had polka coming in, we had like all the whole range of northern Minnesota kind of music coming through that box in my living room, and I loved it all. And so I sang whatever I could whenever I could. When I started then to really think about singing as a vocation, and I had the opportunity to go to college because I went to boarding school, and at my boarding school everybody was going to college, and so I thought, well, I better go to college. How do you go to college for singing? So I figured that out, and and the only thing I offered at college for singing was classical music. So I'm like, all right, then that's what I'm going to do. So I started studying all the old, classical music. And I remember my first voice lesson was with this lady named Donna Pigors, and they called her Prima because prima donna, and I went into her studio at UMD, and she said to me, you sing well. She's like, but I don't know if you have what it takes to be in opera. And at that time, I took that as a challenge. I was like, what? Because coming from the reservation, because I was driving every day from Fond du Lac to UMD, I faced discrimination on campus, and so when she said that, that's what I heard. Was she was saying, Indians can't really do this, and I thought, whatever, I'll show you, and I'm going to sing, just the same as all of these other kids, meh. So I had like this attitude about it, and now in hindsight, I'm 51, and in hindsight, I think I understand better what she was trying to tell me. It was about the competitive nature of that kind of music field. Um, the competitive nature of music in general, you know, in America, and I'm not a competitive person. I mean, I am competitive. I do like to make myself do better and meet challenges, but not when it comes at the cost of somebody else losing an opportunity. And I think that is from, when growing up here on the reservation, growing up with my family, like it was always about, um, having to make sure that we're all doing better, having to make sure that everybody gets, whatever, that last piece of fry bread. We're sharing these things, and nobody's trying to get more fry bread than the other person. um, and so that is what she was getting at, because as I, that I was, that's like 30 years ago or whatever, when I was in her studio, longer than 30 years ago. And I would always say, well, no, let that person go. Oh, they want to do it? Okay, that's fine. If they want to sing the lead role, let them, I'll sing a supporting role. So, and that's when she told me, I don't know if you have what it takes to do this. But I still love music. I love to sing all kinds of music. And that training that I got singing classical music has served me a long way. And I'll tell you, I'm not going to name any names here, but some of the traditional singers that I've worked with over the years have also benefited from that same training, because it's the same instrument. Like no matter if you're singing country western or classical or powwow or even like Inuit throat singing, it's the same instrument. And so there are basic things that need to happen. Your voice, you have to engage your spirit in order to emanate this sound, and then the vocal apparatus itself. Of course, it's a little different from person to person, but we're all basically given the same equipment. So that just doing that is an act of sovereignty. Singing is an act of sovereignty, and so I think that is that's why I do it.
This is kind of a musician show anyways. We want to talk about the intricate parts of voice training and things. I always thought that pitch was at the intersection of interspecies communication.
Yeah.
Like the thing called motherese, and I have this concept called fatherese too. And this concept is that we can use tones that children understand, tones that can relax the people. And I think when you talk about the about music, we love to hear that kind of insight. And I know like you're involved with a lot of different styles of singing, and you kind of started to mention it on the native drum. You have a woman's group, and I was really trying to get you down here to come into the studio down here.
Oh yeah. Well, we were down
When
there
you were in
walking.
Phoenix. Tell me about that trip, Liz.
So Sharon Day, she's my mentor, and she used to have a women's hand drum group, and they still get together. I mean, she's still drumming and singing. But back in the 90s, when the women's drum groups started to kind of like, take notice, um, uh, then Sharon started her group down in the Twin Cities, and at that time, that's about when I was in college actually, and then I realized, that other kind of music didn't necessarily speak to my spirit in the same way. It was more intellectual singing than traditional type of singing. And so when I heard Sharon singing and other women singing, like Pura Fay and Jennifer Kreisberg, the whole crew, and then that was like, wow, that's the kind of singing that is going to be easy for me to feel connected to. I started thinking about that, and I had to talk to elders and do some ceremony, around that. And I was told, I should be given a hand drum. I should, me myself, my own teachings were not that I can just go buy one or go make one. That I had to be given one. And so I kind of like, put my tobacco out and, waited around, gee, I wonder if I'm ever, right? And then somebody gave me a drum, and it wasn't even a traditional drum. It was like this other kind of hand drum from some other place in the world, you know. And I'm like, oh, hey, I'll sing with this drum. And you know, over time, that was kind of my training drum, I guess. But a dream came, and during that time, the dream came. It was about singing with a group of women, and when we were singing, the sound, you know, like it was visualized in my dream, and it was energy, and I saw that what it was doing for the community in my dream was really important. And so I started talking to other women in our area and said, you know, hey, would you be interested? I know you're singing with a hand drum at home, or, you know, I know you've got that drum hanging on your wall, or, you know, like whatever. And so we started this group that eventually became known as Oshkosh Singers. And so Sharon was doing a water walk down in Arizona. She was walking the Salt River, and I happened to be able to go and help. Sometimes I'm busy working, so I can't go and help, but I could. And so I said, I'm going to come and do that with you. And so we walked the Salt River. It was, I think, like 5 days, maybe 6 days. And we were excited to be in your part of the country down there. And I know Darcy was trying to, you know, make it so you could come over there. And I was like, okay, whatever, I'm good, let's do it. But it wasn't meant to be at that time for whatever reasons. But my group is, they're, you know, they're women that care about our community. They're women that care about the families. They're women that are working in, you know, domestic violence awareness. There are women that are working, you know, as teachers or counselors, or their grandmas, or they're, you know, they're raising foster kids, or they're, you know, they're tribal women. And every now and then we get together and we get to sing and share some songs. And so our last project that we were excited about then, you know, when we were down there in February, we just recorded I don't know, 18 tracks of like we call rematriated songs that come out of that old ethnomusicology from Frances Densmore when she recorded, you know, over 500 Ojibwe songs, and some of them are women's songs. And so we found those songs that would be appropriate to relearn and then record. We tried to, you know, talk to people in the communities where they came from the best we could. You know, we were able to put out, we ended up, you know, putting up like a feast and trying to do all the right protocol by these songs, and really to bring them out again, you know. So that's what we did, and we're excited about that, you know. But now COVID, so I don't know, like I am supposed to be making a web page for this recording, and I haven't yet. You would think we have all the time in the world, right? Because now we're all stuck at home, but holy smokes, you don't have a lot of time when you're stuck at home with, you know, I've got kids home and a husband, and the house gets messy like that, you know. And so like me trying to make a web page, I gotta lock myself in my my home office, you know. That hasn't happened yet.
You want to sing a song today? You got a guitar or a drum?
This is a song that we made like however many, 15 years ago or whatever. This is the song though that is the hand drum group's song. And we call it the New Day song because Oshkosh singers, you know. So just because I know like this is nobody else's song. That's why. You know how that goes.
That's the name of the song. This is nobody else's song.
Yeah. All right. And I have morning voice, but okay. I know. There's something.
I always have to put on my sunglasses when the song is cool. It makes me put these on to listen to them. But I love you guys, like Sharon and Darson, all the women who sing and walk for the movements. I know there's other movements that you're involved with. Also, other styles. I just love the nightly postings of your family rock band. That's kind of like the interview. You talked about a lot of things. You sang your original song, you know, and anything else you'd like to talk about this morning while you have a little audience, you know?
I don't know. I mean, I guess really, you know, I would just riff on the idea of, you know, singing sovereignty. Like it's a personal act of sovereignty to use your voice every day, you know? And so how is it that, you know, that we're going to use our voices individually, in our communities, collectively, to move everything in a better direction than, you know, than where we are right now. Not saying that, you know, it's horrible, because I know that our ancestors lived through much worse times, but it looks as if the political landscape, there are challenges and opportunities that lie ahead of us, right? And so how is it that we're going to navigate that individually and collectively to bring the Indigenous voice forward in such a way that helps, you know, our people, helps, you know, the Mother Earth, that helps the water, that helps everything return to a better state of being, you know? Well, we've been colonized and under this you know, current government for a few hundred years now, right? And so underneath that, we're able to do the things that we're able to do in the best way possible. But I think it's time for Indigenous leadership to really be more involved in the leadership of America.
That was a good way to visit. Hey, it's kind of weird. Your earrings look really cool.
Thanks.
You know what they look like when on your phone thing when you press the record button? Looks like I could press your earrings.
Yeah.
This is a good one. This is a bad one.